6 straight losses for the Chicago Bears. Will they stop the bleeding this week, or is it going to be 7 straight? What is going on, y'all? Faiz Sports Talk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL here to talk about the Chicago Bears. And if you are a Bears fan, even with the abysmal season that it has become for this team, then make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel, guys. That is the best way to support me, and make sure you are hitting the bell icon to be notified every time I drop a new video. So remember, win, lose, or draw, I'm always here, and there's been nothing but losing lately, but it is what it is, all right? And follow me on my social media accounts, links down below and on the screen for that. All right, so here to talk about the matchup this week between the Bears and the Texans. So, again, going to be breaking down the matchup for you guys, my keys and my prediction at the very end. So, let's get into it. All right, as always, we start with the numbers here. So, let's take a look at the total and the spread. So, this game is being played in Chicago at Soldier Field. Actually, first time that Deshaun Watson has played in Soldier Field, by the way. Just want to point that out. -2 is the spread for the Texans, so they are favored by 2 points in this game on the road. I'm actually surprised it's not more, but it is what it is. And a 45 over-under, which is a pretty low total and makes sense because, again, the Bears' offense is not prolific at all. So let's talk about, the matchup and kind of my keys here. And look, here's the thing, folks. Obviously, every loss makes you less and less enthusiastic about the future of the team. I mean, at this point, it's safe to say, Bears fans, for the most part, have kind of lost hope in the season. Actually, let me rephrase that. Not kind of. We have lost hope in the season, right? What started off as a promising 5-1 season to where there's no way we don't make the playoffs, we might even win the division, to now 5-7, and you're thinking, how close are we to getting a top 10 draft pick? Yeah, it's been that type of season. So, as far as, the importance of this win, folks, there's no hope right now for the playoffs. I know the Bears still have a chance. They're not eliminated by any means. They're actually only, I think, a game out of the wild card spot. But, point being is, we know this is not a playoff caliber team, even if they do somehow find a way to get in. And they proved that last week, losing a game in which they should have won it against the Detroit Lions. So, in terms of, what this game means, not very much, because, again, I'm less and less enthusiastic now about the prospects of this team, as are majority of Bears fans. But that is something I want to just point that out. All right, so whatever happens, it's not going to change much in terms of, the long-term outcome of the Bears, at least this season, okay? There's a lot of guys and coaches, I should say, playing for their jobs, but that's another conversation. So, as far as the Texans, look, they're coming off a loss against the Indianapolis Colts, and this is a team before that, though. They had 2 straight wins. They've been playing a lot better since they fired B.O.B. Bill O'Brien, who was an absolute mess for that team, and they got rid of him, and maybe that's what's going to happen with the Bears and Matt Nagy, hopefully. But let me not cross my fingers here, because I don't know if that's going to happen in terms of him getting fired. I digress. Point is, Texans are playing good. They played a better Colts team last week, where I believe they would have beaten them, and it was a close game. So this is a Houston Texans team much different than the one earlier in this season. They are a fairly high-powered offense, led by, of course, Deshaun Watson, who, again, we're hearing, telling reporters and stuff that, he doesn't know why the Bears drafted him. And I don't want to digress here as well, talking about, the 2017 draft all over again. I do want to say that I have been steadfast in my opinion in the Bears messing up by not taking Deshaun Watson over Mitchell Trubisky, because it was between those two quarterbacks. Nobody saw that coming from Patrick Mahomes. Again, I've made countless videos explaining my point on all this, my stance. You guys go check them out, all right? But, of course, Deshaun Watson coming to town here. And like I said, the Texans can put up points now. They lost Will Fuller for the entire season due to PED suspension. But they do have Brandon Cooks, and they do have Kiki QT now as their number 2. All right. They have David Johnson in the backfield, and then they have Duke Johnson behind him. Tight ends, Darren Fells is okay. Jordan Akins, decent, nothing great. So they did lose their best receiver in Will Fuller, but Deshaun Watson can still put up points. That should not be understated. So as far as, this Texans team and the scouting report really for this Texans team, we have to start with how do you attack the Texans themselves? They're a very bad defense. That's the one thing that has not changed about this Texans team. They're very bad defensively. You can throw on them. You can run on them. They're worse against the run than they are against the pass. I mean, this is a team that allowed Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb both to rush over 100 yards, okay? So they get beat up on the ground. 30th overall, actually, in terms of defense, and 31st against the rush, 22nd against the pass. So really bad defensively, okay? And in terms of the game plan for the Bears, I think they should take what they did last week against the Lions, who are another team that was bad against the run, and just keep pounding David Montgomery and sprinkle in a little Cordell Patterson, who had a good game. I don't mind him as much as I did early in the season. So I want to go ahead and attack this team on the ground. So that's the first key here. You got to run on the Texans because that is where they're bad at, and that is what you need to do. So run on this team. Get a heavy dose of David Montgomery. It's time to start turning over the opportunities to our young guys, right? We need to see if Monty is the running back of our future. And again, last 2 weeks, he's been phenomenal. Hopefully he continues this week. I think he has a chance to. But in order to minimize turning the football over, like obviously Mitchell Trubisky fumbled last week, it's just better to run the football with David Montgomery. Not to say we can't attack it through the air. I think Allen Robinson can have a very good game here. Again, Mitchell Trubisky, I believe, will start again. He played pretty well last week. Again, I know he fumbled the football, but outside of that, the offense has looked much better with him at quarterback than it did with Nick Foles. All right, it's not even close. I'm sorry. It is, and that's not saying much, to be honest, because still the offense is still not very good, but it looked better and played better the last 2 weeks with Trubisky than Foles. And last week, I'll say it again, the Bears offense didn't lose that game. The Bears defense lost that game. Go watch the tape. That's what happened. The Bears defense lost that game, allowed 34 points. That's how the Lions won that game. It wasn't a lack of offense. All right, so this week, key number one, get Monty involved and rush and feed him a lot. All right, moving on to keys 2 and 3, and they're focusing on our defense and how we should play against Deshaun Watson. But my first concern is, what Bears defense are we getting here? Are we getting the Bears defense of the last 2 weeks that looks like it's given up on the season? Or are we getting the Bears defense that used to be elite, used to be solid, used to be, the best part about this team earlier in the season? Because if we're getting the defense of the last 2 weeks, we got no shot, right? We got no shot. Deshaun Watson will tear us up. But if we are getting the defense from early in the season, okay, now we're talking. So I really don't know. I'm going to hopefully assume maybe it's somewhere in the middle. But as far as key number 2 and how we play Deshaun Watson, look, I mentioned Will Fuller's out, right? So one deep threat is gone and they're wide receiver 1. So they lost firepower, but like I mentioned, you still got Brandon Cooks and you still got Kiki QT. I want the defense, the Bears defense, to keep them in front of them. All right, what do I mean by that? No deep shots, all right? This is going back to the bend but don't break. You can let them have everything underneath, right? Because Deshaun Watson's going to put up yards. And if you want to give it to Darren Fells, Jordan Akins, Cooks, Kiki QT, keep it all in front of you. No deep shots because those guys are burners, especially Brandon Cooks. He can get behind you. QT got behind the Colts last week, put up 140-plus receiving yards. So these receivers, even though they don't have Will Fuller, can absolutely get behind you and take the top off the Bears defense, and that shouldn't happen. So that is going to be key number 2, to make sure to keep everything in front of the Bears D. Give up underneath, but don't give up anything deep. Key number 3, get pressure, but be careful, right? What do I mean by this? Look, Deshaun Watson is unlike most quarterbacks that we've played, right? This isn't a Brady. This isn't I know we didn't play we did play the Colts. This isn't a Phillip Rivers, right? This is a guy who can move outside of the pocket. So pressure works great on non-mobile quarterbacks because they will just collapse in the pocket. But Deshaun Watson can run. So you can pressure, but just know he can run and create on the run. So make sure you are not just absolutely, just rushing like crazy at him. And that shouldn't be a concern because Chuck Pagano never blitzes. So I guess maybe that's a moot point there. But point being is be careful with Deshaun Watson's ability to rush the football by his legs. And I think he's going to be able to do that as well on this defense. So again, ultimately, I do believe Deshaun Watson will find a way to put up points because he put up points against a very good Colts defense. So I think he can do that against a Bears defense that has not looked remotely good the last 2 weeks. So I say all that to say it's time to give my prediction. Again, folks, I know the enthusiasm has gone down, but again, it's still Bears football, still something to watch. And you know what? Before I do give my final score prediction, I'm going to say this. I still want to watch these young guys. I want more Cole Kmet this week. I want Darnell Mooney. I want more David Montgomery. Like, I want to see the future of this team, at least on the offensive side of the football. And I want to see them, even if the season isn't going anywhere, I want to see them get opportunities and make plays, right? So that's what I'm going to be looking for. So as far as who wins this game, I believe the Texans win this game, folks. Again, their offense, I believe, is much better than ours, even without Will Fuller, and I think Deshaun Watson's going to be able to put up points, especially given the fact that I can't trust this defense anymore like earlier in the season. And I do think our offense will put up points, but ultimately, if it ends up being a shootout, which I'm not saying it will, but Deshaun Watson's going to put up more points than our team. So I got the Bears losing this one 28-21 at home to the Houston Texans. Again, close game relatively, but I do think the Texans pull away here. That is what I got. So let me know what you guys think about that. 28-21, Bears lose. Do you have the Bears winning or losing? Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree. Remember, folks, I tell you this all the time. I'm never happier to be wrong than when I pick the Bears to lose. So hopefully they get the dub, but that's what I got. Got to stay objective. Got to be on point with my analysis. So that is what I have. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree. As always, thanks for watching.